there, and but they're both made of sandstone. They're quite differently tilted. So Uluru is at about 90 degrees, and we'll see in the diagram shortly, you can actually see the layering of the rock, as you can at Katajuta as well. So if we fast forward 350 million years ago, when the seas of the Amadeus Basin receded, and then the region experienced significant tectonic movement, and we've got that result here with Uluru poking up above the surrounding desert, and it sits up by about 347 meters above the surrounding landscape. So all of these are examples of endogenous forces that shape the rock. And if we wanted to then perhaps move on and have a look at the diagram of Uluru, this is such a beautiful photograph. You can so clearly see the layers of rock there that are tilted at 90 degrees to the surrounding landscape. And with the erosion, so the exogenous processes that have happened since, you get this layering, and it's quite spectacular and quite clear what's kind of happened there. And you can just imagine the forces that must have been at play to move this massive slab of rock through those kind of 90 degrees. You can also see in some of those gullies, if you like, down the side of Uluru that there's plant material there, and so this is evidence of water gushing off the top of the rock when it rains, and there's soil and wind-blown material that's sitting in those little depressions, and that leads to the plant growth that we can see quite happily happening there. So the red colour of Uluru is due to the oxidation of the iron-bearing minerals which are in the rock. So if you chip away, not that we would, but if you were to chip away at a little piece of this rock, it would be grey underneath. But once it's exposed to air and water, a bit like rust, it turns this reddy orange brown colour with the iron oxides. So we'd like to just break here. We'll have a short challenge for students, and this is something we would do with the student group, and we'll put this question to you. So Uluru stands 348 meters above the ground. If each floor of a skyscraper is about 3 meters, how many floors would Uluru have? You can pop an answer in the chat if you'd like to do that, or if you need to whip out the calculator or the phone. Be our guest. Well, for comparison, if we look at Eureka Tower in Melbourne, it's 91 floors, and that's 297 meters high. And we've got, yes, I think that's correct answer, Jen Megumi, 116 floors. So well done. So we can the prize is coming. So we're going to now move across to Rachel, who's live on the ground at Uluru, and Rachel is there with SEIT Tours, and I'll hand over to you, Rachel.
Hello. Yes, I join you from a very windy Yulara with Uluru just behind me here. So as Mark said, that geological process of how Uluru was formed, it's a very old piece of rock. It is older than trees, older than life on Earth, formed when all life was centered in the oceans, which is truly fantastic. And we do just see the top of it, and you can really see the sedimentary layers in that picture that you just saw before. But in regards to the indigenous people of this area, they're actually called Arnangal. And Arnangal are direct descendants from these ancestral creation beings. So they have these beautiful creation stories that are told all across their country, and particularly around Uluru. And so for Arnangal, these creation stories, lore, actually shaped Uluru to what we know it and to what we see it today. These creation beings can be anything, snakes, lizards, people, marsupials, but they help to form the landscape. And so in terms of Arnangal and their culture, their belief, that is their reasoning to why Uluru is here, and also Kalajuda Park as well. Like Mark said, there was lots of different erosion types that happen as well, wind being one of them today. But humans and tourism have had a really big impact on Uluru and on the national park. So I'm sure we all know that Uluru has a climbing site. We used to be able to climb up it. And very close, we now call it scar of Uluru because it was closed in 2018. But that scar in the old path is really visible. That is erosion, and just big tourism in the area as well has had an impact on the landscape. And also, would you like me to add any more?
Rachel, Mark, let's just pause and perhaps open up to the teachers. We've presented a little bit of material now at Uluru. We've tried to cover off the geomorphic processes. Rachel's described some of the cultural significance. And I think, Rachel, we can also probably talk about human activity in a second, but can we get some input from the teachers, please, about, is that sort of hitting the mark in terms of what you would teach in year 8, landforms and landscapes? Quite happy for you to come on video and let us know, or type something in the chat, please. So as that's happening, Rachel, can you please describe how many people live near Uluru?
So the resort is about 30 kilometers away from Uluru. That's where I am now. And there could be about 1,000 people at any one time. And then for Arnhem and the community, which is inside the national park, there's about 400 Arnhem living within the national park, very close to Uluru.
Sorry, I think the wind is carrying your voice a little bit away. I know we've missed the Bluetooth, but I can assurance to the teachers that Rachel will have a Bluetooth speaker arrangement for next time. But yeah, so did you say 600, Rachel?
Yeah, between 600 and 1,000 guests and workers in the resort, and then about 400 animals in their community, which is inside the national park.
Okay. And when visitors visit, what's the sort of arrangement? Is it always has to be a guided thing, Rachel, or can people just wander around?
No, people can take their own vehicles in. They can just get a bus, like a taxi service in. There is a lot of tours, but it is free to all.
Okay. So I think some of the teachers are talking about traditional owners of the land, talked about the creation stories. That's great, Cassandra. Reef formation links to geomorphic processes. So I think, yes, good. Yeah, so Stephanie has basically asked the question, which I thought was also important, management of the landscape. So what things are done?
So with Uluru Kalajuda National Park, we are a joint managed national park, and joint management is Arnhem, the Indigenous people, and Parks Australia working together. Arnhem actually have the main decision and main votes with land management, with the design, the layout of the park, what information is shared. They have the majority say in everything. And so anything that they want, it essentially happens. So they are in charge of managing the land in a traditional way, which mainly out here is something called patch burning, but you know it as being a controlled burn, perhaps in other parts of Australia. So they have that traditional knowledge, but then we use the Western techniques with our non-Indigenous rangers to make that happen. Aerial footage of the land, for example, and then fire extinguishing and starting.
Right. Jen has a really interesting question. Can we move around, or do we have to stay in the one spot? And could we be any closer to Uluru? So what's the filming situation, Rachel? Closer to Uluru?
We could be, but I think that's something that we need to discuss with Emmy.
Right.
I spoke to her briefly, and that it is possible, but it's just something.
Yeah, we were told before there was a blanket no on filming, but I believe and I understand there are some permits now that can be obtained.
Yeah, we can get a media permit, and yeah, because I'm not. It's
Yeah. All right. Mark, any questions from yourself to Rachel?
We did have one about the bit more about the desert landscape and the surrounding environment of Uluru. That was one of the questions that came up in the chat. And if you wanted to add anything there, Rachel.
Yeah, so it's semi-arid. Not a desert, we are semi-arid, and the average amount of rainfall we get should be 300 mils a year. That's the number. Over the last 3 years, though, that number has unfortunately increased due to climate change. We've got a lot more rainfall in over the last 3 years. So I think we are due a desert storm with all of this wind coming in. And for about a week, last week, we had a lot of storms, a lot of rain coming through, which is very unusual.
So what are the challenges that extra additional rainfall sort of adds, if you like, to living or working in that environment, the way that, or tourists interact
I find it quite exciting. That's just me personally. I think a lot of people come out here for the sunrise and sunset. They unfortunately don't get that with rain, but it can be a bit of an issue in regards to the plants because they are well adapted to being able to retain a lot of moisture. And so if they're retaining too much, then they're growing at quite a fast rate. And so then more patch burning will need to be done in our patch burning winter seasons. And so then that's just more areas of land that are burnt that maybe don't need to be burnt and wouldn't have been burnt when Anangu were here living that nomadic lifestyle without tourists and visitors.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Yep.
Yep. Stephanie, would it be possible for students to hear from traditional owners as well?
Unfortunately not in this case. With Anangu specifically, they're very shy by nature. They don't like being on camera and they learn English last. They have 5 other languages that they're going to learn before they learn English, which is why tour guides are such an important part out here at Uluru, because we share their story the way that they want us to share the information and their story.
Stephanie, I can add one thing, which is although today the second location we're showing is in Java, Indonesia. Actually, I'm fingers crossed, very close to getting approval from the Dimuru Aboriginal Corporation in East Arnhem Land. So their rangers will actually show what that whole escarpment up there, which is classic example again, like Parangtritis is. It's a classic example of an exogenous landscape. So I think and that would be quite amazing, I think, to have, and that will be very much done by the Yolnu people there. So hopefully in a few weeks we can come up with some good news on that. Mark, perhaps we invite some questions from the participants, from teachers, before we move away from Uluru to across the sea.
Sure. If anyone else would like to come on video and ask a question or type anything else into the chat, we'll have another little. I'll do a wait time, maybe 10-20 seconds, and see if anyone wants to, and then we'll move on to our second landscape.
And Mark, if when participants are shy, you know what we do in the actual live session, we just pick on people, right?
Well, sure, pick on students. Yeah. All right. So
let's
looks like we'll move on.
Let's pick on our colleague Megumi.
Okay.
Megumi, do you want to come on camera? I think we want to get the feel for the student, what the students can do.
Sure.
There you go.
So that was putting me on the spot. I'm curious, how far away is Rachel from the Uluru, the actual rock? Like, it seems quite a distance, but I can't work it out. Although Rachel seems to be frozen.
Rachel seems to have frozen.
Yeah.
I
It
think
looks far away, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think the answer is about 20 kilometers actually.
Is it? Okay.
It's just at the edge of the boundary of the national park. So
Mhm.
beyond that, to film beyond that needs that permission.
Oh, I see. Mhm.
30, sorry, Laura says 30 actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Well, with Rachel having frozen, might be a good time to get back to you, Mark, and
Okay.
get to the
All
next
right.
location.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Rachel. If you can hear me, but so we're going to now move on to Parangtritis Beach in Java, and we'll have a map. I'll look at a map there, so we can sort of see the Indonesian archipelago to our northwest. And interestingly, on this image as well, you can see the landscape under the water, and you can actually see the plate boundary between the Australasian plate and which is the same boundary where the tectonic movement was responsible for the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004 up at the northern tip there around Aceh. So a key feature of Parangtritis Beach is the black sand, which is made up of pulverized volcanic lava. And in this sort of oblique image, you can see Mount Merapi in the central background there in Yogyakarta, and there are a number of other volcanoes that sort of make up the spine of central Java. So we can see these here. And so that lava, that larval material that's being ejected from the volcanoes over, hundreds of thousands of years has been sort of pulverized down into a black sand that then gets moved along the beaches by longshore drift and to make these these black beaches that we see. So there's actually a lot happening. You can see in the addition of the volcanic lava flowing into the sea. There'll be wave action shaping the coastline, cliffs and the beach, and wind shaping and indeed moving around large sand dunes as well that will be sitting behind those beaches. So it's now we have Muklas who's standing by to show us around this landscape. And he's going to talk about the forces such as the rain, tides, and waves. And if you have any questions or observations, again, you can pop these into the chat or come on stream and ask. So welcome, Muklas.
Hello everyone, all teachers from Australia. How are you today? Nice to meet you. My name is Muklas. I am from Yogyakarta, just the north side from Australia now. Now I'm seeing the oceans, and just the oceans is Australia. I'm from Yogyakarta, everyone. I'm a tour guide. Since 2012, I work in Yogyakarta as a tour guide. And in Yogyakarta, we have many beautiful places. Indonesia, very wonderful. We have Bali, many islands. Java is also wonderful. And here we are in Yogyakarta, the most beautiful place that you should visit here. And at that time, today, I'm so happy to show you the part of my city, Yogyakarta, but it's not really city. We are about more or less 30 kilometers from the city centers. Our city is actually located in the middle between the most active volcano in Indonesia, the name is Mount Merapi, and in the south of the city of Yogyakarta, here we are, Indian Ocean. That's the day I will gonna talk you about the very wonderful of this place that's very unique and very special that we'll go to explore. Okay, so now I show you the place of here. This the Indian Ocean that Yogyakarta have these beautiful spots for very unique natural phenomenon that we call it gumuk pasir. We are now in the Parangtritis Beach, and this is the Indian Oceans that you see now here. Very big wave, strong, and the black sands that's actually coming from the volcano. 30 kilometers from the city is the Mount Merapi standing, the most active volcano in Indonesia. That we are considered as the axis of the city of UNESCO World Heritage. You see our map is a city. Tokjaru's map is from the north side is the volcano, and the volcano brings the rivers. It rivers from volcano that we can see from there far away, 3 kilometers here. This opaque river brings the material from the volcano of Merapi when it's active. And all the material like lahar, we call lahar, or lahar dingin, the cool lava. So it has material, sand, ash, rocks from the volcano, and then goes to the river, and then reach the oceans of Laut Selatan, or the South Sea. And then it creates this, the sand, the black sands of the beach of Parangtritis, as you see this color. This is coming from the volcano. This is unique. As you see there, on this cliff over there, the hill, the green hill over there. So this is the border between Jakarta and Gunung Kidul area, the South Mountains area. So the South Mountain area there is already also UNESCO's World Geopark site. This is also the unique phenomenon because of this land that you can see stand still over there. It was under the sea before. Expert says 6 million, and the volcanoes of the volcanic eruptions of Ngelanggeran. Yeah, so this is ancient volcano behind, and then also it makes the force of the tectonic. It creates these coral reefs from the under the sea and begin to rise like this. The difference is when we just go to the that side behind the mountains, the sand is white. So it's the color of the sand is not black like this. So this we have Parangtritis Beach, Parangkusumo, with the Indian Oceans, Gunung Kidul. Yes.
Malcolm, I just, Anuja, if you can just maybe mute that.
So this is very special place. Yogyakarta started in 1755. We are in the kingdom of Yogyakarta. Our first sultan.
Thank you, Anuja. So Muklas is actually just on a different system, so there's a little bit of a chopping and changing for us. But he's just talking about, he's spoken about the geomorphology, obviously. Anuja, if you can screen share still, that would be fine. We can just, Mark and I can probably talk over it because of the volume is coming in and out anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Actually, I think it's just okay. Maybe just go back to that, Anuja. So yeah, do your volume. You can screen share your volume, Anuja, please. Sorry about that, folks. We're just trying to make sure that
and Hindu, Buddhism, and now Muslim, which is now this beach become very special spot for Muslim people who lives in Yogyakarta. That until today they keep coming here. You can see people over here. It is a gazebo, just sitting here. The group of Muslims with hijabs and men with white shirts. Yeah, so this is typical how to spend to come to the beach. Monggo. So this is how the activities that exist now in Yogyakarta. The ideas of the Sultan of Yogyakarta is to accommodate all the multiculturals. So the belief in nature and human being. So that's why in the 1755, Sultan of Yogyakarta have many supports for the people. Yeah, and this beliefs, it is the
Anuja, we'll just mute him now, Mukhlas now, and maybe just Mark and I can talk about
people.
Landscape. Thank you. So, no, please keep screen sharing if you can, the visuals. Mark and I will just talk over the. So, Mark, it's very telling. You know, we've done a recce here a few times, and you know, you can see this very complex landscape where you've got, as you mentioned, you know, you've got all these, you've got wind, you've got wave, you've got rain. The sand dunes were very interesting, I thought, where the wind has not just sculpted the sand dunes, but continues to sculpt it. And the sand dunes get moved around, which is quite fascinating.
Well, the sand dunes get moved around, but also you can see behind the beach here, a lot of the dunes have been stabilized with vegetation. So what we can see there, those hills behind, they would be mostly sand, and you know, we'll have primary dunes, which would be the mobile ones, and then secondary and tertiary dunes. And the tertiary dunes will get, you know, quite large vegetation on them, as people would know. So I mean, you can see, I'm sort of like there's quite a lot of vehicle activity through there, which is going to, you know, lead to erosion, and we'll have, you know, potential invasion by weeds as well when we've got you know, that disturbance. You can see on the beach there's quite a lot of material washed up, and that's an issue for beaches in, you know, near large population centres, is, you know, the amount of material that's flowing out into the sea that then gets washed back up onto beaches.
He did actually, in a previous recce, Mark, he actually did mention that this is actually a spot for very popular kind of you know, four-wheel driving sport. So because of the black sand as well, it's it's a very popular attraction. So that's clearly a big human activity.
Well, you could see there was a quad bike down on the beach, you know, zipping past at some point as well. So yeah, okay. And
the other thing was, you know, when he heads over into the village, one of the things that is really remarkable with this place is the impact that it is having from climate change. And Mukhlas does talk about that. The volume is a little bit choppy today, so I thought maybe, you know, we might just have this conversation ourselves. Thank you, Laura. We'll be finishing up in about 5 minutes anyway, so if the rest of you could hang around, that would be good. But yeah, so he's showing the mangrove type of, you know, the plantations that, so they've actually, this plantation is actually something that they've actually planted themselves to try and, you know, stabilize the sand there. So they've done a lot of effort. They're making a lot of effort in so kind of, you know, responding to the climate change that they're facing. Anuja, could we just try maybe a minute more of Muklas's audio and see if that's Any better now that it's closer to the village? I'm sorry to have you chopping and changing all the time.
So we walk from the okay. So that's for my presentations for today about our tour in Yogyakarta, and here in this very special place. I hope you enjoy and have new insights for this tour. And thank you so much for your attention, and good luck for this study and everything. No, I'm trying to ride jeep after this maybe. Okay, see you. Goodbye,
so much.
selamat siang, sampai jumpa dari. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Muklas.
Terima kasih. All right, Mark. So I think we can just do our concluding slideshow, Anja.
Okay, all right. We're waiting for a slide. Okay, so we have one more quiz question. So waves at Parangtritis Beach strike the coast at an average rate of about 12 waves per minute. If each wave removes half a millimeter of sand, how much sand could be eroded in 1 hour? Spot on. I think we had, was it 360 millimeters? 36.
36.
That's 36 centimeters. I think we might be out by a factor of 10. Oh, yes. Is that right? Hang on.
3.6 centimeters it should be.
36? 0.5. Okay, we've got two people who've concurred. Okay, all right. We'll come back to that. So, does anyone have any questions or comments they wanted to make about the presentation about Parangtritis Beach, or any questions about that? It looks like no. Okay, so if anybody wants to add any extra, we've got a new message. Oh, okay. Yep, we've got 3 people on 360. So if anyone wants to give us any feedback, you could put things into the chat now, and otherwise you can contact Vyatra via email. What would be your preference, Sarah, in terms of the best way to get in touch?
We will follow through with those who have joined, just to again get your feedback. And I think, Mark, it seems that those 3 aspects, if we can show those 3 aspects, which is the morphology of the landscape, cultural significance, and sort of what sort of human activity is happening there, and how that's shaping the management of the landscape. That seems to be, I think we've got a bunch of ticks on that in terms of content.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, I think if we can get the Uluru Aboriginal Corporation, we can make it an Australian landscapes and landforms, and we can also bring in the indigenous presenters, and I think that would clearly that's also, I think, what the syllabus now demands. Jen, you've asked, I'm just wondering whether you could have a couple of people on site so that students could see at least 2 places on the live coverage. It would give it. Yeah, we would definitely do 2 places at every session, Jen. So today we showed, Uluru and Parangtritis. So we would show that normally. Otherwise, as I said, we would also show Uluru and East Arnhem Land.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as an example, we've got over a dozen sort of experiences that we can show, and another example for geography that I've used is the Ganga River, the Ganges in India, and we would have around 3 live crosses, one up at the headwaters, one further downstream, one at Varanasi, and otherwise we can also show live footage, or we can show pre-recorded footage of some things as well to give additional information and experiences.
Right. Sorry, Reece, so thanks for the clarification. So you meant 2 different people at the one location. We can think about that. If that gives a better perspective, we can certainly think about that. So Rachel, for example, where she was standing, we could, have that, and we could have somebody much more closer. So there's a close up and the far away. Actually, Rachel, I know you've come away, but we missed panning out to Karajuta. I was hoping to get you to do that.
I know, I'm so sorry. We had a very big sandstorm come in,
Oh,
and then
dear.
my phone just went black. So I just had to run back down to our depot to rejoin.
The perils and charms of live coverage. And hopefully also we've shown that we can manage a lot of the things that do happen with live, like you saw at Parangtritis, closer to the beach, the volume was patchy. We can recover from a lot of that. We have video footage for a lot of these things that we can then play. So part of that is for someone like Mark as an anchor to be quite adaptive, and Anuja is quite well resourceful in that respect. So all right. I think that's if we can have any other comments, any other questions, that would be really welcome. Mark, I think the answer to that question was definitely 360.
Okay.
360 millimeters, and it's a lot of sand. That's a lot of sand being washed on.
Yeah, that's over a foot in an hour. Or if we want to use the old mix metric and imperial.
Yeah. All right, so I think it's just coming on to 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for us. So I think we just thank you, all the teachers that have participated, all of you that have given us inputs, to give you a feel for the range of sessions that we are running across history, geography, and religious education, as I mentioned, and also Mark mentioned before. Schools have run a lot of these sessions with us. They've been really well received. The students particularly have been rating them very, very highly for engagement, over 4 out of 5 on average, and that's not bad across hundreds of students now. And the questions that they're asking, and in some cases actually we're able to bring in peer students from the other location as well, and that's a really nice sort of cultural exchange for our students here. So we're always adding new things. Just recently, someone asked us about Venice and covering Renaissance history, and that we were able to also add. So that's another addition that we can make. So yeah, I think the message we want to put out is we're quite flexible. These are the sort of offerings that we've curated ourselves. And within the offering, we're quite flexible. Beyond that, if you have other ideas that you would like us to cover, we're very happy to look at that too. So I think, thank you, Stephanie. That's so nice of you. Yeah, the fact the questions can be answered. I think that's the whole point. It really feels like a 2025 kind of offering, isn't it? The post-COVID type of offering. In fact, that was what inspired Nitin and myself to actually create this venture, that we were all suddenly, on these live interactive platforms. So why not bring that into the classroom in a meaningful way? So yeah, very good. Thanks, Jen. Yes, in fact, I know that at New South Wales, fieldwork has become a big part of the syllabus. So yeah, very much. We very much always thought of this as a fieldwork option. Mark, is that you were also mentioning that for the Victorian curriculum, that's a big. You've always been a big fan of that, right?
Schools where I've taught, every unit of geography should have a fieldwork aspect for students to collect first-hand data.
Yeah.
But of course, getting out to some landscapes, can be tricky, and people have a whole lot of, I guess, impediments. Sometimes financial, sometimes remote locations, etc., depending on where you are. And it can be challenging to get students out. So this is one way we can, I guess, go around that.
Yes, yes, very much, very much. $15 per head versus what is it, $3,500 per ticket for just the airfare. All right, Rachel, can we just thank you, again for coming on and risking life and limb, it seems, with your sandstorm experience. But thank you very much. And to Mark, thank you also, Mark, for presenting and anchoring this session. Anuja, thank you for producing it. And to all the teachers, thank you, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.